It's a new day, and that means new stories from Ocean Story. Let's begin. We live in a temporary house and have an additional area with a small crop of vegetables and fruits. My wife works at a regular job, just like me. Madeline and I have a son, Maverick, who is 17 years old. For a while, our relatives came to stay with me. So while my brother Nicholas was with us, he noticed a strange thing. My son is very often out doing chores and often chopping wood. Nicholas asked why my son was doing so much work. I told him that Maverick has an agreement with me. If he wants something, he has to work for it. After all, everything in the world is not free, and many resources have to be paid for. So my son earns the right to have money or permission to go out if he does all the work. 2 weeks later, my brother noticed that the Maverick had been doing all the work from morning to evening for several days. He was a little annoyed because my son was doing everything while I was lying on the couch, so Nicholas called me to talk to him. Nicholas said that even our dad didn't abuse us like that when we were kids. Believe me, our dad is a tyrant. We really did all the work at home with my brother, while our dad sat with his friends and drank beer in our yard. Nicholas and I grew up doing housework, so comparing me to my dad is the ultimate in bad comparisons. I said, that's not true. I'm not a tyrant like our dad. I just decided to make a fair working environment. I don't have to force Maverick to do things just because he's my son and an extra manpower, just like our dad did all his life. So there is nothing wrong with Maverick helping me. Maybe he does a lot of the housework, but for that he gets money for his parties. My brother was not satisfied with this answer. Nicholas said that I am a father to my son, and I should take care of his condition for nothing, not when he does all the work. Nicholas thinks that I have become worse than a father, and the fact that I give money to my son cannot justify me. I can't agree with Nicholas because everything is fair enough. A day ago, my son scratched my car when he took it for a drive in the field. For that, he spent the whole day sawing wood. It's all very fair, and I'm not taking advantage of my son. Cora, man, you're really a tyrant. I understand that he's your son and he has to help. But when he does almost all the work and you do nothing, it's not fair. You should reconsider your attitude towards your son. Soon, he will think of you the way you used to think of your dad. You can't put all the work on the shoulders of a boy who is 17 years old. You, as a father, should be there for him and build strong parental relationships. And what do you do with your son? You spend your time with him, just 3 minutes, while Maverick explains to you what he wants, and you figure out what he needs to do. Is this how a good relationship between a son and a father should be? Author, you should think about my text. Dominic, you are doing something wrong with your son's upbringing. I should start by asking you, how long ago you made your son a personal slave? Maybe you think there's nothing wrong with Maverick working out his desires. After all, parties have to be paid for, but your son clearly thinks you are mean or rude. You've made it so that Maverick can only come to you when he wants something from you. Your relationship has become very rewarding. Does your son come to you when he doesn't need anything? I think most of your conversations start like this. Dad, I need to go out with my friends on Sunday. Do you mind? And you say, well, look, when you pick 10 kilograms of apples and chop a big pile of firewood, then you can go. And at the end of the conversation, you might ask how your son is doing. Ruby, in this kind of upbringing, there is a great risk that due to constant actions, the child will form a habit of hating the work they are forced to do. I know this from my own life. My mother was always making me iron clothes for everyone after washing them. I liked helping at first, but when I started doing it all the time, the work itself became annoying. Because of this, my mother and I had conflicts later. I can say that now I am 24 years old, and I hate ironing. I'd rather go out in a t-shirt that is not ironed and doesn't look good than stand there and iron something. I think that over time your son will start to get angry and you will have conflicts. Eva, your son Maverick is not your personal employee. Show him respect and love, and don't put all the work on your son. Give your son money sometimes for no reason at all. Maverick will be happy that you, as a father, appreciate him and are ready to help. Start doing some housework too. Talk to your son not only when you agree on the amount and scope of work, Believe me, over time, your relationship with Maverick will become much better because what you're doing right now is just looking for benefits and nothing more. Can't your son get a car for nothing? I think you love him, so I'll show my forehead to Maverick. Now I want to tell a different story. I decided to organize a camp for my children and their friends. We went several kilometers into the middle of the forest. I then drove my car to get all the food and supplies we needed in case we didn't get enough resources in the forest. There were 12 of us in total, 10 children and my wife Adeline. Before we went to the forest for a few days, the children's parents informed us about their children's tastes and specialties. One girl had a special diet after her surgery. We will call this girl Haley. She is 12 years old. Haley's dad said that she should eat light food, various salads and vegetables, no fried potatoes or even mushrooms. I said it wouldn't be hard to bring some vegetables to make salads. When we were finishing up our departure, one evening I cooked baked potatoes with fried mushrooms that we had picked in the forest. I also made 3 kinds of salads with my wife so that there was enough for everyone, and Haley did not go hungry. When we sat down to eat, after about 5 minutes, I noticed that Haley had put a few small potatoes and the same number of mushrooms in her plate. Her entire 90% portion was from the salad, so I didn't go to Haley to stop her. Apparently, Haley was very hungry, so she allowed herself to take some high-calorie food. The next day, when we returned from our camp, I received a message from Haley's dad that his daughter was vomiting and in a bad way. He started asking what could have happened to Haley. I told him what we had been doing these days, and then I added that on the last night, Haley allowed to take some high-calorie food. I didn't have time to say anything to her because she had eaten almost everything. Haley's dad got very angry with me. He sent several voicemails telling me what a bad father I was. After all, my job was to watch the kids and see what they were eating. Haley's dad also said that he would never entrust his daughter to my care again. I told him that there were enough salads on the table for Haley to eat. She wanted to put those damned mushroom potatoes on her own. You see, one could have had some complaints against me if there was only a pot of potatoes and a pot of baked mushrooms on the table. But there were 3 types of salads on the table, and additionally, there were separately chopped vegetables on plates. Haley had a wide choice of what she could eat. I did not create the conditions with my wife that Haley would choose to eat something that was not good for her. My wife Adeline said that we could have had more fruit, but I said that it was quite enough. It never occurred to me that Haley would not be able to resist taking the potatoes. Haley's dad said I should thank God that his daughter didn't have to go to the hospital. I think that in the comments, most people will say that I am an asshole for not fulfilling my tasks, but I do not believe that I am fully to blame. My wife Adeline says that Haley's dad is exaggerating the situation too much. My son said that there was never a time when Haley felt bad after eating something high in calories. Adam, I think Haley's dad is exaggerating the consequences of what his daughter ate. Maybe she was really feeling a little sick, and Haley was uncomfortable, but obviously a few potatoes and 1 spoonful of mushrooms will cause something critical. Since you were in nature, in such conditions the metabolism is accelerated, and the body can digest food faster. I understand Haley's dad, he's worried about his daughter, but that doesn't give him the right to be rude to you. What makes him think that it was your food that made Haley sick? Couldn't she have eaten something at home? I think if Haley allowed herself to break her diet, it was clearly not the first time she did it. It's just that her crazy dad didn't know about it. Gianna, if I were Haley's mom, my reaction would probably be similar to this. I have entrusted my child to other adults, so I expect my child to return safe and sound without any injuries or problems. When my daughter comes back the next day, she is nauseated and feels sick. What do parents do in this case? They look for reasons why their child is in this condition now. Therefore, you should not think of Haley's dad as a jerk or a rude man. He was just having emotions from that stress. If Haley had been taken to the hospital, would you and your wife have considered yourself not to be guilty of this? Santiago, I agree with the author. What should he and his wife have done? Run to Haley through all the children and open her mouth so that they could pull the food out with their own hands and maybe Then they should have put her belly on their knee and squeezed her so that Haley would spit out the rest of the food. Is this how you imagine this process? Haley is a 12-year-old girl who is capable of understanding that there are consequences for certain actions. I guarantee you that Haley has played with fire before, but it hasn't burned her before. Now the moment has come when Haley has paid the price for not keeping her strict diet. Therefore, all claims should be made against Haley. Valentina, I wonder if the girl was told why she couldn't eat certain foods. I think her dad just gave her a list of food prohibitions. That's why Haley just didn't restrain herself sometimes, because there were no consequences. Next story. I stopped having a good relationship with my brother Colton because of the apartment I inherited from my grandfather. Now I am 38 years old and have an injury on my leg and part of my arm. When I was younger, I loved riding my motorcycle. Unfortunately, due to a bad stunt, I got badly injured. I managed to heal most of my injuries, but some problems remained the same. Colton has a wife, Ariana, who is 1 year younger than him. My brother also loves children very much. Together with Ariana, they have had 3 children and have taken one into care. I was not comfortable demanding my share of the apartment, knowing that my brother has such a large family. Actually, I have a small 2-room apartment where I have been living for 10 years. My brother's apartment is 60 miles away from mine. I moved away from that city a long time ago because I wanted to find something new for myself. I told my brother that I would leave him the apartment and would not ask for anything but one thing. Our apartment was not far from small mountains, and there were lakes nearby. I like to spend time there. I asked for a place to stay. When I go on vacation in the apartment, hotels charge cosmic amounts for a single day's stay. My brother easily agreed to such conditions. After all, I could have claimed 50% of the apartment, and it would have been very uncomfortable for his family to live there. When the summer season started, I was given a vacation at work. I could finally be free from everything, so I called my brother to say that I would be coming to his house in a few days. Colton was excited and said he would definitely be waiting for me. 4 hours later, Colton texted me, "Unfortunately, my house will not be able to accommodate you for those 4 days because our children need a lot of space and all the rooms are occupied now." My brother wrote that his wife Ariana is absolutely against me going to their apartment for those days. I will bring a lot of problems for them and the children. It would be better for me to stay with a friend or in a hotel. Ariana is against her children sleeping on the floor while I rest on her adopted son's bed. Colton added that he doesn't want his wife to be angry because of my presence, so I better not even think about going to their house. The answer from my brother did not satisfy me, so I wrote to Colton that despite their wishes with Ariana, I would really like to stay in the apartment since staying in a hotel for 4 days would have cost about $1,500. That's a lot of money for me to live on for 4 days. I don't want to pay that much money when I have my brother's apartment where I could spend the night. I had another option to spend the night, but my old friend said he could not invite me to his place. His mother-in-law came to see his grandchildren, and the guest room was occupied by her. So I had only 2 options in this situation. Either I go and live in my brother's apartment or I stay at home. Colton did not respond to my messages for a long time. When he did, he said the same thing as before. I was very upset that my own brother was doing this to me. I had only one request and only one vacation for the whole year. The last thing I could do to decide in my favor was to call my brother Colton and remind him of our terms regarding the apartment. When we started discussing it, Colton became very aggressive. He said that I had no right to tell him what to do in his own apartment. I told him that the apartment was not actually all his. If I want to take my half, I have the legal right to do so. Colton started telling me to shut my mouth and not to call him anymore. Colton started saying that I would be the worst brother in the world if I did that. After all, his children would not have their own rooms and would have to sleep in the kitchen or living room. I told him I had no plans to be so rude. I just need a place to stay for 4 nights. Colton continued to stand by his words that he would not let me in. Even his wife, Ariana, interjected herself into the conversation and told me to stop calling with my stupid requests. If I want to spend a vacation in this city, I should find another house to stay in. I realized that I shouldn't do business with them anymore. Many years have passed since that event. I am still upset that my brother's family treated me so rudely. I don't even want the share. That was left to me by my grandfather. I just wanted to stay with my family in my own apartment for 4 days. Cameron, let me start with this. This apartment doesn't just belong to your brother Colton, but he acts as if your grandfather signed it over to him. I think when one of the family members does something like that, he immediately goes on the list of assholes you never want to deal with. Why does Colton think that your request is not so important and you can sleep somewhere else? Maybe it's his family that needs to find another place while you bring things to your half. If I were in your shoes, I would assert my right to half of the apartment as a matter of principle. Then I listened to what Colton and Ariana would say. I'm sure their tone would have changed a lot, and they would have asked for mercy. But I could have ignored her request, just like they did. Dude, you're being too nice to them. Your brother deserves to be punished. Allison, I agree that children need a lot of space and large rooms, but your brother was so quick to forget about your conditions under which he and his family can live in your inherited apartment. The whole problem could have been avoided if Ariana hadn't been so stubborn. Couldn't two guys share a room for 4 days? Your brother should have been more respectful and given you permission to stay for a while, especially since you don't visit them that often and you have some injuries. You definitely don't need to go all over the city looking for a place to stay when you have a few rooms in the apartment that Colton has taken. Your brother could have given you a room for 4 days as a token of his gratitude. Even if the children started saying they didn't want to share a room for a few days, you could explain to them that you are doing a good thing for them, and for them, it would be a good opportunity to show how grateful they are. Carson, I believe that if you have an agreement, it should be honored. In any case, you kept your end of the bargain, and all these years you had no claims to your share of the inheritance, but your brother forgot that you treated him with love and just threw a rock in your face. I think he also called his mom to tell her how inadequate and rude you were. I've never liked people who quickly forget the good things people have done for them, and when the time comes to help someone, they are the first to turn away and say that they owe that person nothing. Your brother Colton is just such a person. I am sorry that you lost the opportunity to enjoy your only holiday of the year because of Colton and Ariana's stupid behavior. Maybe their children will grow up to be as rude as they are. A story that really surprised me. My hobby is diving into the water and looking for various valuable materials. Over the past year, I have found many interesting and old things. I saved all the money I earned from this business and did not spend it under any circumstances. Last week, I found a very valuable chest. It contained about 3 kilograms of gold and a lot of precious jewelry. I saved all the net money I had left as usual. I needed to use it wisely so that I wouldn't have to do my annoying job at the supermarket again. The money I had saved could cover a lot of my personal needs. I told my girlfriend, with whom I have been together for 1 year, about my find. Gabriella was tickled to death that I was the one to find such a find. I asked her not to let anyone know about it. I didn't want my brothers and sisters to be jealous and ask for money. After all, the amount was quite a lot in my account. Gabriella said she would keep it a secret. I thought the best thing to do would be to talk to a friend of mine who knows his way around finance. He's been in a good financial position for a long time thanks to investments. My friend advised me to keep most of it to cover my own essential needs, buying an apartment or a small house, cover all my debts and pay off the loan. With the rest, I can help my brothers and sisters with money, and I can spend the rest on business or investments. I like the plan that my friend developed for me. Everything was perfect and should have been enough for every area of life. 2 days after the discovery, my girlfriend said that she needed to go to a beauty salon and she didn't have enough money. I always give her money to make Gabriella look great. Then Gabriella said she needed to upgrade her phone. After all, her 11th iPhone is not very modern anymore. Gabriella started to say that it's high time we moved out of the one-room apartment we rent and into a spacious apartment, at least with 2 rooms. At first, I just listened to Gabriella and said, well, maybe we'll do it later. Gabriella kept pressuring me to do it right away. When Gabriella said she was tired of taking taxis or sometimes the subway, and we urgently need to buy 2 cars so she can go anywhere. I couldn't stand it and said that I could only buy her an inexpensive moped so she wouldn't have to ride in such bad taxes. Gabriella got angry with me and said that I didn't care about her comfort and feelings. To all her insults, I told her that this was not the most important thing right now. 3 days before I got my share of the sale, you didn't say you had so many needs. Gabriella said we didn't have any money, so she didn't want to talk about such things. I told my girlfriend I would now follow the advice my friend gave me. The most important thing now is to deal with debts and have a stable financial situation, regardless of whether I have a job or not. Gabriella continued to be offended that I didn't want to give her a single penny. Then Gabriella said that we had been together long enough, so I should propose to her. I told Gabriella that I didn't want to get legally married yet. Gabriella started to say that I was angry and didn't love her. I only need her so I can fulfill my animal instincts. I don't agree with what Gabriella is saying at all. She was so angry with me that she blabbed to my sister about my wealth. As I expected, my relatives started writing various letters on social media, saying that they really needed help. My brother started saying how great it would be if I gave him a couple thousand to cover his tuition fees. My sister said that she and her husband needed money for their baby right now. I didn't want to say no to either of them, but I didn't want everything to happen in an instant. I planned to help my family, but gradually, and without them knowing about my account. Now, I feel worse than ever. My relatives think I'm a jerk for not giving them money. My girlfriend says she's ready to leave me because I don't love her. What should I do? I just don't have the strength to do anything. Robert, man, have some respect for yourself. Dump this whore as soon as possible. Gabriella doesn't want you to care about her. She wants only the money you can get. I don't think your relationship can be normal. After what happened, now you are just another opportunity for her to realize her dreams. Gabriella couldn't give a damn about your needs or your family's needs. All she cares about is those hundreds of thousands of dollars in your wallet. I had a girlfriend like that once. She seemed fine, but until I started earning a lot of money, my girlfriend changed. She stopped working and waited for me to give her money. Then she started demanding money from me. I dumped her after that because it became clear there was no love to speak of. I was just a magic genie for her. So, my friend, leave Gabriella and live happily, helping your family. Alice, I love it when my husband has a lot of money, but that doesn't mean I can be a candidate for that money. In any case, you have to think with your head. You can't buy yourself a new car when you have loans on your house or unpaid rent. Gabriella's actions are like the whims of a little girl, like when you walk past the toy department with your child, and she kneels down in the middle of the store and starts crying, saying that she needs these toys because they will make her feel better. When you buy the child a toy, after a while, he will ask for a new one and do the same thing again. This is a vicious circle that will never end. Your girlfriend obviously wants to use you, not thinking that money is important for other needs now. Gabriella should be more mature and realize that money should not be spent on all kinds of nonsense. Angel, I dread to think what Gabriella would say if she were your wife. Gabriella must have taken all the money for her own needs, saying, I am your wife and I really need the money now. It's strange that you didn't know this before, that your girlfriend is very interested in having money. Usually, such girls immediately start acting and say that they need something all the time. Breaking up with Gabriella is the best thing for you to do. She's already created a lot of problems for you, so stop putting up with it. My next story. My son Jordan spends a lot of time with me. He is almost 8 years old now and loves playing soccer. My wife Eliana and I have been divorced for 2 years. We split custody of our son by weeks. It's the most convenient way for both of us. My ex-wife now has her fiancé Cooper. My ex-wife's husband has a daughter, Quinn, who is a little younger than my son. All my friends and acquaintances are very happy that Eliana has found a new decent guy to be with. Now, I don't have a girlfriend or a fiancé. I'm doing quite well on my own. I am sincerely glad that Eliana has found happiness, and my son will be able to have a partially complete family. When my week with Jordan, I followed him to Eliana in my car. On the way home, my son started saying that he felt very sick. I thought he needed to see a doctor, so I asked him what was wrong. Jordan said his heart was hurting. After all, he is practically not needed in his mom's house now. No one there really cares about him. All they do is prepare for the wedding and choose clothes. Jordan said that even when his parents pay attention to him, it is only for a few minutes. His half-sister, Quinn, is constantly in the spotlight, and everyone cares about her. I told my son that Eliana and Cooper have important preparations to make now so it will be easier later. And his mom did not forget about the existence of her son. It's just that now the wedding is taking up most of the time. It's not something bad. Jordan began to ask if Eliana would love him after the wedding. I said that I would. Then my son said that Quinn was stealing all the attention from Eliana and Cooper. None of his family spends as much time with him as they do with Quinn. I told him not to pay too much attention to that. Just because Eliana shows more attention to her stepdaughter doesn't mean she doesn't love you as her own son. It's just that Eliana is trying to establish a good rapport with Quinn. My son asked me what to do then. I told Jordan that I would talk to his mom about it, but he has to promise me that he won't be angry with Quinn and won't do anything bad to her. After all, last week Jordan cut off the head of his favorite doll, Quinn, out of anger. We had a great talk and resolved our issues. 2 weeks have passed since our conversation with Jordan. When I came to pick up my son again, Eliana met me and asked me to step aside for a conversation. I put my son in the car and went to talk to Eliana. My ex said that Jordan started acting strange. I asked her in what way. Eliana said that our son started to be quieter, and all the time he sits in the room, playing games on the console or just drawing. She said Jordan has become kinder to Quinn and stopped being so aggressive. I said that I just had a nice talk with my son. Eliana got angry and said that I shouldn't have done this kind of re-education without her permission. After all, this is our son, and we have to teach him together. I said that there was nothing wrong with Jordan becoming more kind. Eliana said that all the guests didn't recognize her son and thought that she and Cooper were punishing or hitting him to keep him quiet. I said that was nonsense and went to the car. Eliana texts me now and says, I'm an asshole who intimidated my son into behaving. Eliana started threatening that she would file a police report and have me deprived of parental rights. I have never been in such a situation before. Should I really be encouraging Jordan's bad behavior? Brayden, are you sure your ex is in her right mind? I haven't read such crazy stories in a long time. To me, nothing can justify Eliana's behavior. Why is she against your son behaving normally and not trying to fight for attention? I think Eliana is just thinking about her new daughter Quinn. She even forgot that she has a son. Eliana only remembered Jordan's existence when he did something stupid to get attention. If I were you, I would go to some court and ask for full custody of your son. Jordan deserves a normal family. You will eventually find a girlfriend and you will have a happy family. Neva, you are a good father who wants the best for his son. Your ex-wife is an idiot. I wouldn't even be surprised if you got divorced because of her stupidity or aggression. What mother doesn't want her son to be polite and calm? Your son lacked attention and tried to get it at any cost. Perhaps Eliana is used to her son Jordan doing something wrong. I wonder what Cooper is doing in that relationship. Is Cooper somehow supposed to think that he should take care of Jordan too? He is now his son too, even though he is not his own. But he should be a good influence on Jordan, although most likely the guy only cares about Quinn.